Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Televangelist Podcast, where we spread the word about the best shows on TV. Today's show, Invincible. Invincible is a different take on superheroes, and because it's on Amazon, it's compared to The Boys a lot. They're very different, other than both shows are very graphic, and both shows deal with superheroes. But other than that, they're very different shows. Invincible was written by Robert Kirkman, who is the creator of the Walking Dead comic and subsequently the show. He's the creator of Invincible and subsequently the Amazon show and the AMC show Walking Dead. When the comic came out, this comic got rave reviews. I was hesitant because I was at a time in my life where this is the early 2000s. I think it came out 2003, 2004, around that time. I was at a time in my life with comic books, and I go in and out of comic books, but I was at a time in my life where I just discovered that there were comic books that weren't all superheroes. So I was reading Greg Rucka and Stumptown, which might have come out a little bit later than 2004, 5, 3. You get my point, though. The Bendis comics like Jinx, the Criminal series, Ed Brubaker. So I just was on something different. I knew that I found out that comics were a medium and a platform, not a genre. So every comic didn't have to be a superhero comic. And Invincible just looked like another superhero comic, and I was tired of that. So I missed out on that. I would say that the premise of this show, and if you read the descriptions, I'm not giving away anything. I'm trying to be very spoiler friendly. I'm not giving anything away. But it's if Spider-Man, or maybe Robin, were raised by Superman with a really, really big edge, like a ruthless Superman. And so it twists the genre a little bit, like The Boys does, but just in a very, very different way. So there are a couple things I liked, and I want to go over those. And there's not really anything I didn't like. I would give this show an A, highest recommendation. Listen. To me, watch it. I'm spreading the word of the gospel of Invincible. So here's what I did like. Sandra Oh of Grey's Anatomy fame and currently the show, one of my favorite shows, Killing Eve, plays Debbie Gibson. She is Mark Grayson, the protagonist. She is his mother. We have Stephen Yeun, who also was in The Walking Dead. He is Mark Grayson. Invincible, Mark Grayson is part Asian and part white, or at least a Vitromite, but they present as white. His dad presents as white on the earth. I don't know what race Vitromites actually are. We have Zazie Beetz, if I'm saying her name right. She's Amber. She plays Mark's love interest. She's been in The Joker, the last one, the latest Joker, and Deadpool. And she also has a role on the really good show Atlanta. We have J.K. Simmons. Everybody knows him as J. Jonah Jameson, but he was also in Whiplash. But he plays Omni-Man. And to hear that voice that's so familiar playing a character is an interesting twist. I think it wouldn't be the same show without J.K. Simmons because we're so used to that voice for Spider-Man and that world, and this twist that's put on it is really, really cool. We have Zachary Quinto from Heroes fame. He plays Robot. We have the great Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill's voice career is underrated. He's played Chucky. He's played the Joker in Batman the Animated Series. And there's other stuff too. But those are two notable ones that I know. He plays Art, who's the costume guy who develops Invincible and Omni-Man's costumes. And he's kind of a confidant for Invincible and later the wife as well. Walter Goggins, Justified. I think he plays in The Unicorn now on CBS. But Justified, love Walter Goggins. One of my favorite characters of all time, Boyd Crowder, he plays. I didn't realize it was him until I looked it up. But he plays Cecil, who basically runs the S.H.I.E.L.D. like organization in this world. And John Hamm makes a guest appearance in the first 2 episodes. And that's another familiar voice. It's amazing how these familiar voices make you feel more comfortable about the show. And Seth Rogen plays an alien in the show. Another thing I really like about the show is violence. Now, I grew up in a very traditional Christian home. I wasn't allowed to see rated R movies, basically almost until I moved out of the house, but at least until I could drive and go to see the movies. And I definitely wasn't like amped to see them because I came from a very conservative Christian home, a black conservative Christian home. So that's very different. But so I didn't watch rated R movies for a while. And so I'm still not like deeply into the violence or ultra violence. I can do it, but it's not something that I love. It's not something I'm looking for in a movie or TV show. But the way, for the first time I've seen, the way Invincible uses the violence is beautiful. It uses the violence to make a point. It shows you that if these people were real, this is not what The Boys does. The Boys is gratuitous for gratuitous sake. It is trying to gross you out. It is trying to be shocking. Invincible is trying to show you that there would be a hell of a toll if superheroes were real. If these people were flying this fast and hitting this hard, it would be brutal and it would be graphic and it would be disgusting. And the consequences on the people doing the violence would be stark. And they don't hit that as much as they could have. They hit it early in the season, then they kind of pull away from it, but it's there. And then I would say the other thing that I love about this show is that, and it's kind of trite, but it's true, it subverts the genre. We have these expectations. Like the first episode does it. It really hits you in the face. And if you watch the show, you'll see what I mean. But the first episode really punches you right in the face. And with a twist at the very end that totally subverts your expectations of what this show is about. And then, and the show is about a murder mystery. It's about family. It's about fatherhood. It's about being a child. It's about being a teenager. But the way this show subverts your expectations of the superhero tropes, especially with Omni-Man, that is what makes this show special. I give a shout out to the writing. I give a shout out to the animation. That's incredible too. But Invincible is a must-watch show for me. Spread the word about it. I never know how long these are going to go. This one is actually like a really mini podcast. So I think that's good too. But I think you should watch the show. I'm not going to give you spoilers, but the first episode is incredible. The last episode is incredible. Also, the music choices are really good and they fit the characters. It's this coming-of-age story that is hit by a train. That's the best. And it's a good thing he's quote unquote invincible. But it's a coming of age story that's self-aware, that's funny, that's creative, that kind of fucks with your head just a little bit. But I give it an A, and I say you should watch it, especially season 1. I don't know. I'm reading the comics ahead a little bit, and the comics kind of lost me a little bit. It got a little dull. It's not bad, but it's not something that I'm like running to read like I was in the very beginning. There's lots of comics. So I don't know how many seasons they're going to go, but season 1 is solid. The way I see it, when you look at the threads they have open, I see like a 4, maybe a 5 season show. I hope they don't go too long. I hope it's not a Kirkman thing like they did with The Walking Dead, where it goes on for far too long. But this is a fantastic show. I've seen a lot of people ask if it's for children. It is not for children. It looks like it is, but it is not for children. So basically, watch the show. Listen to this podcast. I'm going to do another one of these about maybe Harley Quinn, I think. And that'll be a good episode because I really enjoyed the HBO Harley Quinn show. And they're really short. So give us a 5-star review on the Televangelist podcast. I'm going to also post this on the IB Sports, IB Network podcast feed too. But I'm going to try to do this. Going to try to get a couple good interviews on the Televangelist podcast and be more active, especially when it's not football season. It's a great time for these podcasts. So again, leave us a review, 5 stars, share it, spread the word. If you're in the groups, just talk about something that I said. That's a good way to start conversation about the podcast, and I can share it there. So for RC Carlton, happy watching.